Yes, folks, it's Rudy with $2.77 haircut. We have our very first 2020, the year, not the future, not the television show. We have our very first 2020 sealed magic product spike buyout movement in the sealed product world of the new decade. And as with everything in life, it is not what I expected. I thought it would be maybe a standard set going out of print early, or maybe a very vintage product, so here we are out of nowhere, and I thought something was a little funky when I started getting a couple messages. The first message came in about 4 or 5 days ago, saying, Rudy, are you interested in selling me some of your core 2015 booster boxes, also known as M15? And I said, well, not really, because I only have 10 boxes. And then another person said, well, Rudy, are you following what's going on? And I thought that was kind of strange. So anyways, at that particular point in time, I went out and I found one Flying Snowball Castle Kingdom website that had, I think, 11 boxes for sale. And I bought those and I paid a whopping $155 a box for a core set. So here we are, January 11th, I think, or 10th or 12th or whatever today's date is, of 2020. And the core 2015 booster box has flippin' skyrocketed. Rudy, what do you... But the cards in the product are only worth $80. Buy them all! Buy them all! No joke. That's literally what's going on right now. I was like, it can't be that big of a deal. So I go on eBay. I hit TCG Player. And of course, there's a ton of boxes out there, but they're all non-English. So I finally try to say, then I realized, wait a minute. Holy crap, you can't even find these stupid booster boxes. Everything left is just foreign languages of Chinese, French, Spanish, the Russian. You can't find any English 2015 booster boxes. And then you find out the cheapest ones are $200 to $250 a box. And I'm like, did something happen with Pioneer and the single cards in the set? And all of a sudden, the expected value jumped to $150 a box? So that's why the sealed is $200 to keep it out of that arbitrage window. So I go online, I start looking at the cards in the set. And look, everyone, expected value of Magic 2015 is $80 a booster box if you want to use TCG mid. It's $65, $70 if you want to use TCG low. The cards in the set are the same as they were 6 months ago. There's really any move. The movement's maybe plus or minus a couple percent, just market noise. So it leads to a bigger conversation with everybody. So there's two big things I want to talk about today. One, which is creating all the next wave of messages to me. Okay, Rudy, what does this mean for core 2012, 13, 14? And the other one is, okay, why? So we want to talk about the overall collateral damage of what this is going to do to the other core sets. Then we want to talk about why M15. So we're going to start with the general. I think that's going to be a good place, everyone. So first, for those of you who weren't around 5 years ago, let me explain a few facts about what happened when this set came out. Number one, this was an era I was still doing mass box openings. This particular set, I did not do a large mass box opening. I only did 120 booster box mass box opening for M15. Why? I think it's because I was wrapped up in the set before and after, and I was running behind, so I kept that one pretty low. I don't think there was any particular rationale on why I did a smaller mass box opening for core 2015. So that's my first kind of perspective on looking back 5 years ago. Number two, if I recall correctly, M15 was the first product that had the stretched card frames with the holo stamp. I think that's when they changed the margins on the card. You guys don't have to, you can beat me up in the comment section if I'm wrong. I remember it was around that time. I thought it was a core set they started with, but again, beat me up if I'm wrong. I can take it. Sometimes you need a couple slaps to keep yourself in line. So at the time, it was even on the singles and standard, the product did fine. When I did the mass box opening, I made the normal 30% return. Actually, I think I still have the foils from M15. I don't know if I ever made a video. You'll have to check my channel and hit M Core 15 or M15 foil review. I don't know if I've ever done a video on that, the pools or anything. It's been years. So there was never anything really amazingly good or amazingly bad. I believe this was also right after Khans of Tarkir, Dragons, and Fate block. I think it was, because that came before, so this was after. And nothing really weird or dramatic happened. But there was one distinctive variable for those of you who've been around my channel for a long time. If you remember me talking about previous core sets, even patrons, when I did my core set through time in different boxes, you may remember even my variety core set package, I never included M15 because that's the one core set I was not able to get a large position in compared to previous other core sets. And again, even the other core sets, the rarity isn't too much different. It really isn't. But I personally ran into problems and I made some bad decisions and I just skipped over it. And it was a combination of multiple events. So fast forward to 2020 where we are, Core 2015 boxes are some of the most difficult core set boxes to get from the M series era. And I don't think that is something that's well known or discussed on the open market because it's a very bizarre niche market, everyone. Kind of like the Master era, kind of like the From the Vault era, the Dual Deck era, the lottery card blocks now. Wizards goes through phases of eras. Right now, we're in the new era with the Modern Horizons, and we're getting ready to jump full force in these collector box era. We have Commander products for all the sets. So we're in a very different era now than we were with even the Master series from the previous 3 years on this YouTube channel. And then before that, we had the M series, which was supposed to end by the Magic Origins, which was M16, but they named it Origins and they were supposed to end that. So looking back at all this stuff, the series of the M10, M11, 12, 13, 14, 15, that M10 through M15 era was actually a really interesting era because overall the market and collectors and evil investors and the 3% beautiful young ladies, nobody really went after the M series products. They just really weren't something that any store owner, distributor, or evil investor targeted. Nobody really likes them. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, and I was not following this until the last couple days, and I was only made aware because people contacted me, was apparently this was not an immediate buyout. This was actually a very weird situation. If you look at the sold listings on eBay or TCG Player platforms, specifically if you look at eBay and sort the listings by just the most recent, this was not all bought out the same day. Somebody went out of their way and actually slowly removed the product from the market over a 30-day period. So this tells me this was somebody that really put a lot of time in orchestrating it. And I do believe that the person also took into consideration that I always talked about M15 was a set I had a problem with and I was never able to build a position in. So I think these couple variables combined kind of created a situation where either an individual or a group of individuals bought out the product. Because like I said, at this point in time, I was able to buy 11 more boxes, and I think I have 10 or 12 now. So I have about 20, 24 boxes right now. Obviously, I'm not going to be doing more box opening videos because that's all I have left, a couple cases. Now, I know some of you are going to pause the video and you're going to look at the market. The prices of the boxes right now, on average, are about $220 to $250 a box. It is quite extraordinary. And I know a lot of people are going to say the cards aren't worth it. The expected value is $80. How can a box be 3 times the expected value? It's going to spark up all that conversation again. And I've also talked to everybody, if you guys have been paying attention in the previous videos in the past, the older the product, the higher the multiplier and the higher the disparity between expected value and sealed value. That's what creates, remember, the age pulls those two numbers apart. And it's very important to understand that. And what happens is we all get wrapped up in the new Theros, the new War of the Spark, the new Throne, and we all get wrapped up in these little sub-segments of time. And, you know, we forget how the age and time starts to change the older products. We forget about that stuff. And this is a textbook, amazing example. It really is an amazing story. It's kind of dramatic and leaves a lot of questions in the imagination on what really happened or if it really was one. The only way to find out would be to contact or find out who all the people who sold the boxes are and to find out if it's the same person. Or there's no real way to know. But from what I'm seeing, somebody saw an opportunity. Unfortunately, I wish I had paid attention. I would have done it. I didn't know that. I was busy wrapped up with everything. Somebody made a lot of money. And, you know, that's kind of what I'm seeing right now. And we want to really ask ourselves, okay, is the price going to hold? I think it is. I think it'll retrace maybe 5-10%, but the point is, you can't get the product. if you can't get the product, the price can't go back down. If the boxes are difficult to acquire, see what happens many times, what a lot of people understand on the reserve list, on crappy reserve list buyouts from 2017, the Wall of Kelps, the Stone Calendars, the Ice Age reserve list cards, Fallen Empire reserve list cards. What people have a hard time understanding is if you take a crappy $3 card and you push it to $20, there are people like me and other people out there that may have 100 or 500 or 1,000 copies in bulk bins that they didn't really pay anything for, or a large card store like the Castle Fireball, Snowballs, Kingdom Castles, Awesome Thing. If these companies have massive back rooms with inventory that's old and stale, but all of a sudden, if they can go to a certain area or a certain era or a certain set, and they can get 50 of these cards that are now worth $20 a pop, they're going to cash in that money. And when they start putting supply on the market, the price is going to retrace because people aren't going to be willing to pay $20, $30, and then everyone's going to start undercutting, and the market rebalances itself. So back to the actual M15. If you look at the core set situation, this is very different. Like we've talked about, a sealed product can go to single cards, but you can't go backwards. So one-way street. The sealed product market's very different. People don't have back rooms unless you're a crazy psycho in a basement with goldfish like me. People don't have basements and goldfishes and warehouses of hoarding sealed product. There's people out there who do it, but it's nowhere near the scale of the 3,000 LGSs around the country who have single cards in inventory. That is one of the biggest differences with this stuff. So back to the M15 thing. At this point in time, if anyone has M15 or anyone can find it for sale, if you can get it below 200, you're immediately in the money. You're in a good situation. The boxes are pretty much they're actually selling on the market for 220 to 250. Selling. It's unbelievable. I don't know if it's going to go much higher. I don't see it. I don't know if I'd really recommend anybody buying in at 250 because I think the limited upside is extremely limited. I think the risk reward and the easy money's been made. At this point in time, the odds of going from 250 to 500 are not good, and the odds of it going back down are a lot greater. So I would be very careful if you don't get involved and don't get all wound up with FOMO and try to buy these at 250. Now, again, if you want the set, you want to draft or open the product and enjoy it, then that's fine. But as far as just sitting on it for actually investment collectability purposes, you may want to be very, very careful with that. So, final tier of this video, I want to comment about the other core sets, the other M sets from the M10 to M15 era of many, many years ago now. I've noticed, and what I think is going to start happening is going to be the same thing that's happened with the Master Series. There's 7 Master Series. A lot of people like to have one of each and collect the Master Series. That's a very common thing that I hear about and I see now. Collecting Master Series, or at least having the whole one of each box, it's a big deal. It's important to collectors and investors out there. I think like the same thing with From the Vaults, dual decks, things like that. I do believe the M10 through M15, specifically, probably M12, M13, M14. In my opinion, with no actual evidence, M12 through M14 all have higher and better expected values and better cards in the set than M15. They are all older than M15. So, okay, the value of the cards are better than M15. The print run on the previous years were smaller. The product is older, and yet the open market price on M12, M13, M14 are all pretty cheap still. I went on eBay before this video and I looked online, and the open market is still selling some of these core sets. English, please don't just go in the comment section like Rudy's lying, all the boxes are $80. English pricing only, please. I'm sorry, I know a lot of you just look at any language, but seriously, there is a huge difference on distribution, print runs, and how the market accepts or rejects different languages on the USA open market. It is a big difference, everyone. So, in my opinion, the biggest takeaway of this video and going into 2020 now is that this makes 2012, 13, 14 look like a bargain. Now, full disclosure, I also have a small position in M14, less than $100. I don't have a lot of that. I have a large position in M13 and then a small in M12. So I have different levels of each one. And I do believe this makes the older core sets a lot more valuable and significantly underpriced. Every metric that's used that should be kind of calculating a sealed product is completely distorted at this point in time, based on the assumption that M15 pricing is going to actually be authentic and hold. And from what I'm seeing, the fact people are willing to pay and they're selling for over 200 now, I don't see it changing. And I also have been looking and been monitoring eBay the last couple of days. I don't see new product coming on the market. So, if M15 is a $250 box or $220 box, there's no way M12, for example, that's worth way more, has more expensive cards, a better foil multiplier. It's an older product with a same or less print run from 3 years earlier. That M12 is 8 years old now, everyone. 8 years. There's no way M12 should be $120, $130. Let's put it that way. If you can get it for 100 to 150 range, that's an incredible price point for an 8-year-old out of product, sealed product, a booster box. So that's all I have to say. That's kind of my grand takeaway today. I wanted to express that, wow, Core 2015 is officially the home run, #1 successful core set now in the last 10 years, and didn't really see it coming. I didn't mention M10 or M11 in case a few people want me to at the end of this video here. The reason I don't mention M10 and 11 was that was before the new Phyrexia time frame, where the print run and the distribution, before they changed it, pre-gate crash, pre-return to Ravnica. So 2011 earlier had a completely different print run. So anything earlier than 2011 is just an automatic. You always need to buy it if you can get it below market price. So that's why I didn't include M10 and 11. M12 through 15 are all in the same print run and the same distribution era. So that's why I kind of segregated between the 10 and 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, by the way, in case a few people are curious about that. So that's all I have. I hope you guys learned something today. I don't know, if somebody's out there and you're the one who actually bought all the boxes, I'd like to know your story. I'd like to make a video on it. If you don't mind, maybe send me a message and to prove that you are legit and you are the person who bought them. Please send me a message and attach a picture showing all the boxes that you actually purchased so I can make a video and maybe share your story. If anyone out there if it was one person and you are interested in having your story shared on maybe why you did it, maybe what your perspective is, why M15 versus M12 or M13 or M14 or even Origins, I'd like to have some information on it for anyone out there who doesn't know who the person is, or if you are the individual when you see this video. Either way, I think it would make an interesting story for me to read and share with the general public, just to kind of hear your perspective on how you came to that decision, because I know a lot of people are always fascinated on the thought process for some of these investors out there. So hope that's all I got. Happy 2020.